Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be going over 10 different flipping techniques that will really help you improve your profit or just flipping overall. Some of these will be a bit theoretical and others will be very specific. Now, like always, you will have to use a certain amount of discretion before doing anything relating to money making or flipping, so you definitely want to check it yourself. Anyway guys, hope you enjoy and let's get started. Now, first up here is a interesting one, and that is something I like to call order fulfilling. So what is order fulfilling? Well, it could be something simple as selling a couple hundred team capes to a clan who needs them, selling a bunch of items to someone who is over their buying limit at the GE, or just finding short-term obscure items that are actually in demand for an external reason. Now, oftentimes, these are kind of found by accident. For example, quite a while ago, I was flipping with a very low amount of money, only about 100k, and I stumbled across this item called the Blamish Snail Shell or something like that. A very obscure item, but it was actually used in a clue scroll step. So I ended up selling one of the items and it instantly sold for 4k each. So then I determined I could go ahead and kill a bunch of snails and fulfill this order, and I pretty much sold a couple hundred of them at 4k each and made a ton of money. Now, this is borderline kind of a money making method over flipping, but that's just kind of an example of what order fulfilling would be. Another good example of this is people in the Grand Exchange buying items because they are over their buying limit. Now, you want to be careful here because there is actually a scam that is extremely related to this. If someone is asking you to buy them some items because they are over their buying limit and it's for an item that is very common, most likely they are going to be telling the truth. If someone is asking you to buy 1,000 Chaos Talismans, that is most likely a scam. However, that being said, that is also kind of another option for order fulfilling. You could go ahead and collect a bunch of Chaos Talismans and sell them on the Grand Exchange for an inflated price. And one last example is I noticed that the item hair was selling for like 1,000 each on the Grand Exchange for a certain period of time. I went ahead and bought about 300 from the shop in Anita's Knot or Yatizo or something like that, and I sold with them and made a couple hundred K. Again, these are kind of all found at random and will take a certain amount of practice to identify them, but I really like this type of filling because it mixes it up and you can make a lot of money in a very short amount of time. Coming in at number 2 is creating unfinished potions with Zahur. Now, to do this, you will need to have completed the hard achievement diary for the desert or have 99 herb lore. However, when you have that, Zahur will make unfinished potions for you for 200 coins each. Now, this is somewhat situational because more often than not, creating an unfinished potion will not have a 200 GP margin. However, sometimes it will, and being able to do this instantly can make you a lot of money. If you find an item with a 300 GP margin, even if you have to give away 200 of that to combine it, that'll still leave you with like 100k profit on a full buying limit, and it's done instantly. Now, Zahur also can clean unnoted grimy herbs for 200 GP each, and there is no requirement for that. However, it's very unlikely that you'd ever see a margin there, so I wouldn't really recommend trying that. The highest margin between a grimy and clean herb right now is like 100 GP, so it's very unlikely that you'd ever hit that, but it's still an option if the case came up. Coming in number 3 is crafting flips. Now, there are quite a few different items in the game that you can craft for a profit, but I am specifically talking about high margin items that would only take you a few seconds to craft all of them. I'm not talking about something like creating sapphire rings out of sapphires, because that is a long process and will only happen at a couple 100k an hour. I'm talking more about quick flips like turning the Tanzanite Fang into a toxic blowpipe. Often you can get like 50k there, or another option is turning a primordial crystal into primordial boots. You will need 60 rune crafting for that though, so pretty high requirement. Another option is turning odium shards into odium wards, and there are quite a few different options. My favorite tool from GE Tracker is the item sets and crafting section, which will show you a bunch of different flips like this. For example, the top one right now is the Justiciar armor set, or even stuff like creating Ceradomin God swords out of Ceradomin hilts and shards. Even right now, there's a 250k margin on making gilded armor sets. There's just a ton of useful information here, and for learning different item sets and crafting flips, so I would definitely go check it out. There will be a link down below in the description. Coming in number 4 is something I like to call penny stock flipping. Now, penny stock flipping is the act of buying, well, an item for cheap and selling it for high, which I mean is flipping overall, but you're really looking for items that you can buy for really cheap, like 1 to 10 GP, and potentially sell for 100 to 200 GP each. Now, these are often items that were obtained by accident. A very good example of these items are low-level seeds. They are obtained from master farmers. While people are thieving the master farmers for their seeds, they're looking for a very specific group of mainly high tier herb seeds, or some allotment patch seeds as well. What they are not looking for are potato seeds, sweet corn seeds, and stuff like that. So those end up getting dumped on the Grand Exchange very frequently, so their price is extremely low. However, that being said, they are still used, which means that people will need to plant sweet corn seeds, people will need to plant potato seeds sometimes, people will need to plant strawberry seeds, so they do have a use, and you can actually sell them for 10, 20, or 30 times their margin often. And this can create a very viable and profitable flip, although you do have to be extremely patient. Coming in number 5 is sniping. Now, I don't mean like sniping someone's head, obviously. I mean sniping an item for a cheap price. Now, this can be done with quite a few different items, and there is a certain amount of luck that goes into this, but the items you are mainly looking for are extremely low volume items. Like, you are really looking for the lowest of the low. So low that you want to be the only person in there with a offer. And at that point, you can put in an offer at an extremely low price, and you can be guaranteed that if someone does actually dump the item in there for like 1 GP because they're bored, you may be able to buy that item for 1/10 of its actual price. This works pretty well with obscure clue scroll items like something like the evil chicken feet, for example, just a random item, or the Anku socks. This will even work with like trimmed adamant armor or stuff like that, just really obscure items that people will get accidentally from stuff like clue scrolls, but they don't want, so they'll be selling it pretty much right away. This is kind of similar to penny stock flipping, although you're going to be doing this with expensive items. Coming in number 6 is Barrows Repair. Now, Barrows Repair works because often expended Barrows items sell for a much lower rate than their fully repaired counterparts, and that is including the amount of money it takes to repair them. For example, right now, the Varrock's plate skirt would cost me 52k to repair if I used my armor stand. I have 70 smithing. Right now, I could buy the Varrock's plate skirt 0 for around 775k and sell it for 890k. Even with that 52k repair, we're still going to be making over 50k in profit. And it's a very extremely low risk, because if you do end up buying the item at the price you wanted, you can repair it and sell it off instantly. And it's very rare that you'd actually end up losing money on this. More often than not, you will just not buy the Varrock's plate skirt 0 because they are not traded much, because often people will repair them to sell them, but not always. Coming in number 7 is using Wesley to crush bones, or really anything else. Wesley is a guy found near Zuhur in Narda, and for 50 coins, he will crush items that would normally require the use of a pestle and mortar. He can crush things like bird nests and unicorn horns, blue dragon scales, as well as a superior dragon bone. Now, you always want to check the margin before you do this. Right now, the crushed nest has a 60 GP margin right now, so it would be profitable to do, but probably not worth it. However, in the past, I've seen 200 to 300 GP margins on stuff like the superior dragon bone and crushing nests. It is something that comes up somewhat situationally, but that is kind of what flipping is all about, taking advantage of certain situations, and having all this information can help out quite a lot. I would say I do one of these flips maybe once a month, maybe. Like, it's not very common. However, it can be extremely profitable depending on how the prices have been that month. Coming in number 8 is a really huge one, and that is item set combinations. Now, of all of these actual specific techniques, this is probably the one I do the most and is most consistently profitable. All you need to do is buy the 4 set pieces that go into creating an item set, and you can instantly turn them into that item set. For example, right now, buying a Justiciar face guard, chest guard, and leg guards, and turning them into a Justiciar armor set would net you around 700k in profit. A very common one to do is with Barrows items. You buy all of the individual rim items or all of the individual Varrock items, and you turn them into a singular item set. You can also do this with book pages as well. For example, the Zamorak page 1, 2, 3, and 4 can be turned into the Unholy book page set, and currently sold for about a 50k profit. There are just a ton of different items you can do this with. Again, the item set GE tracker page is extremely useful, but otherwise, just keeping in mind a few popular item set combinations will help you make a lot of money. For example, if you can get a 100k margin on combining a Barrows item set, which is pretty common, you can get about a 1.5 mil profit off of just a singular buy-in limit, which can sometimes be done in around half an hour. It is one of the most powerful flipping techniques, and I would definitely give it a try if you have the money to do it. Coming in number 9 is dismantling Zulrah items. Now, this is somewhat situational and will not always work. However, you can dismantle any Zulrah item for 20k Zulrah scales, and occasionally the 20k Zulrah scales is worth actually more than the Zulrah item itself. Now, you definitely want to check this ahead of time. Every 1 GP difference you sell the scales at will net you 20k or reduce your profit by 20k. So if your Zulrah scales fall by 3 GP, that'll probably annihilate your entire margin. This will probably only be done with the Magic Fang and the Serpentine Visage, as the Tanzanite Fang is always more expensive because you can make the blowpipe out of it. However, like I said, you can easily get 50k on this if the price is right, and it really just takes a few minutes. And last up here, coming at number 10 is Potion Decanting. This is probably one of the most powerful techniques for People who have a medium cash stack or a low cash stack, the amount of money you can get back from this is extremely high for the amount that you need to invest. The easiest way to do this is by buying Potion Dose 3s and turning them into Potion Dose 4s. However, with a recent update, you can decant into any dose, so the possibilities are really endless. You could turn 4-dose potions into 1-dose potions. You could turn 2-dose potions into 4-dose potions. You can do really whatever you want. Now, checking the margin on this can be a little challenging because you need to make a few calculations to get a correct margin comparison. For example, if you wanted to decant 100 dose 4s into dose 1s, you would need to divide the margin by 4 to compare them. I do have a full video on this, which I will leave a link in the description for. I would highly recommend learning this, as it is a very effective way to make money, especially when you are just starting out. Anyway guys, that is it for the video. I hope you learned something. If you did, don't forget to leave the video a like. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time.